WFMY News 2 Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley live with you, and we're just going to be tracking Helene over the next couple of days. What is the storm going to do? What do you need to worry about? When's it in here? When's it out of here? All of those questions. I'm going to try and answer that over the next couple of minutes here. This video is as of Tuesday afternoon, so we're going to be using a lot of that information. There might be some more up to date if you're watching this a couple of days afterwards. This is the tropical storm, though, as of 5 o'clock on Tuesday. We're looking at the location here, which is between Cuba right there, Mexico over here. It's made some progress since yesterday when it was actually closer to Jamaica. Now it's positioned right about here. Still fairly disorganized as far as tropical systems go. Winds are at about 50 miles per hour. The pressure is falling now at 995 millibars, and the motion, the storm movement here, is about west-northwest, meaning it's going kind of like this as you go to the north at about 12 miles per hour. So it is moving at a pretty decent clip, and overall Helene is going to be a quick moving tropical system by hurricane standards anyway. That's Cozumel. As we take a little bit of a closer look, that's Cancun, Mexico, positioned right there. And you're starting to see, as of this hour at least, bigger thunderstorms forming around the storm center. It's just swirling right about here. That's the storm movement. Now it's lopsided, which makes it disorganized right now. A healthy tropical system, you would see a perfect circle around the center, and we're likely to find that in a couple of days. But over the last day or so, there have been winds blowing the thunderstorms off into one direction. We call that shear when it comes to the weather, and that's what's happening. That shear is preventing it from getting all that strong all that quickly. Well, that's going to change, though. Take a look at the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center. The path is going to move still on that west-northwest path and then take a big curve. The reason is it's going to be curving around a high and low pressure into this part of the Gulf of Mexico. That, of course, is Florida. They're watching this most carefully. By Thursday afternoon, it's likely to be a much stronger storm than it is right now. Remember, going from a tropical storm to a major hurricane, tropical storm to a Cat 3 in just a couple of days is really hard to do, but that's the forecast on this system right now. Expected to have winds at about 115 miles per hour by Thursday, heading in close to that Florida area. Now, when you're looking at a cone like this, remember what it represents and what it doesn't. It is not showing you anything about the size of the storm. It's just showing you where the storm center could pass, I should say. On a cone like this, it might track as far to the west as this, or as far to the east as that. But hurricanes are hundreds of miles wide. The impacts extend far outside of the cone, and usually it's worse on the east side or the right-hand side of the path. Once it hits, it's going to have an impact right there near the Big Bend part of Florida, between the Panhandle and the peninsula. From there, the storm center will be over Georgia. That's happening on Friday, and then it'll curl northward over the weekend into Tennessee and Kentucky. That happens on Saturday. For our interests here in North Carolina, we're mostly looking at Friday for heavy rain bands and gusty winds that really could pack quite a bit of a punch. What about that? That's what we're tracking next here. Let's take a look at the storm on our Futurecast model. Notice how it sails northward very rapidly. These type of rain bands are what our problems are going to be, and it's mostly looking like Friday morning. If we have to narrow down one time frame that you want to pay attention to, it would be that Friday morning to Friday midday to Friday early afternoon. Again, the storm center will be well off to our west, but these type of tropical rain bands can be trouble for a couple of reasons. Number one, they can bring flooding, but number two, they bring really gusty winds and also that potential every now and again that you can get some tornadoes to spin up out of some of those rain bands. As we go throughout the day on Friday, it's likely that our conditions will start to improve a little bit going into Friday afternoon. The winds will start to lay down a little bit, and our threats will start to go away as well. But this is not a one-day storm system for the North Carolina mountains. Take a look at this. What I'm going to show you in the next couple slides is the flash flooding risk, the risk that you could see flash flooding in any given area. And this is kind of positioned on a 4-point scale, level 1 being the least likely, level 4 being the most likely and rarest too. This is the flash flood risk for Wednesday. Tomorrow, for the North Carolina mountains, you can see it's already at a level 3. The storm is nowhere close, but tropical moisture is already getting pulled up from a front down there by the tropics, and that's bringing some of that rainfall up into places like the North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina mountains. Again, this is Thursday's rainfall risk here. Now you're looking at a level 3 over a larger area. So flash flooding, not only is it likely way before the storm, but it could be happening for a couple of days for the western North Carolina mountains, parts of South Carolina, parts of Georgia. Thursday could be a big day as well. Here in the Triad, we're going to watch some of that rain, the earliest rain arriving in the overnight hours Thursday into Friday morning. And then for Friday itself, that's when we'll get the bulk of what we will see here locally. And that flash flood risk right now is at a level 2, but they could update that as we get a little bit closer. So we know there's a flood risk with the storm. What about winds? There will be some of those as well, mainly on Friday for our area. Rain totals, though, this is for the next 5 days. So anytime from Tuesday evening all the way through the weekend. What are we expecting for rainfall? Well, look at some of these colors. These brighter colors right here for the southern Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, upwards of 10 to maybe 15 inches of rain. That's serious type of rainfall. We all saw what happened at Carolina Beach and the coastal areas last week with about 10 to 15 and 20 inches of rain. Think about doing that over the mountains. This could be a true natural disaster for parts of the southern Blue Ridge in our part of the state. Georgia gets a lot of rain out of this, maybe 7 inches of rain or so for the Atlanta area. Similar story down toward Macon and parts of South Carolina in that 5 inch plus range as well. Closer to home here, what can we expect here in the Triad? Well, mostly about 2 to 3 inches, especially from Greensboro out to the east. Now remember, this includes some rain from thunderstorms that'll be happening on Tuesday and Wednesday and even on Thursday. So not all of this is falling on your Friday, but 3 to 5 inches possible from Winston-Salem off to the west. Yeah, that's enough to cause some problems. And we've been very wet over the last couple of days and weeks as well. So this is something that is going to cause some issues for us. Now on Thursday, we're looking at winds still pretty manageable in that 15 to 20 mile per hour gust range. This would be Thursday afternoon. As we go into Thursday night, this is when things start to ramp up. About 1 a.m. on Friday morning, wind gusts in the 25 to 30 mile per hour range. But take a look at this. This could be some of those heavy rain bands that I just showed you and that we just talked about. Nasty business. This is around 7 a.m. on Friday. Wind gusts widespread could be as high as 45 to 55 miles per hour, maybe a little bit higher in some thunderstorms. Now this is just a computer model. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen like this, but we do expect widespread gusty winds on Friday morning and staying pretty breezy as we go throughout the Friday afternoon. So boiling all that information down, what do we know? Well, we know Helene is a tropical storm. It's going to become a hurricane as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. From there, it's going to hit Florida, right there in that Big Bend area between the Panhandle and the peninsula. And for them, it could be a major hurricane at Cat 3 strength or even a little higher. For us here in North Carolina, we're zeroing in on Friday as the day that you want to take some action and be prepared for. What we're looking at is the possibility of gusty winds widespread across our whole Piedmont area of about 35 to 45 miles per hour. Again, that's mostly for Friday morning through the midday, getting a little bit less after that. Rounds of heavy rain, this is on top of anything that falls the next few days. We could add up to 1 to 3 inches on Friday alone, and that could result in some flooding too. So our main issues with what's left over from Helene will be from flooding and also gusty winds that could result in, yeah, you guessed it, some of those power outages are possible. Good advice. What should you do now to get ready for the storm? Keep those devices charged up, especially as we go into Thursday night. Have everything plugged in case you were to lose power. Be prepared for that. Don't be absolutely shocked if it happens, because there could be several of those power outages in the area. Stack up outdoor objects that could blow around or just secure them. All of those things will be putting yourself in a good position. You can also clear out the gutters or the drains if you're able to. Futurecast in the next couple of days before the storm gets here. We talked about it. There is potential for some heavy rain at times, especially for the North Carolina mountains with this stalled out front over here. Go through Georgia and the mountains. That's Thursday and Friday. And you see the storm system right here. That's going to be what's heading our way by Friday with the rain and the wind bands that we showed you. One more close-up look. Again, here's Tuesday. Scattered storms could result in some flooding for us through early Wednesday morning. We'll be a bit drier during the day on Wednesday here locally, and then a couple more scattered storms Wednesday night. And then on Thursday, we're mostly playing the waiting game at this point. point, and then it's finally on Friday when the hurricane starts to come ashore. It becomes weaker, and it really sends a lot of that rain and wind into our area. Those are those rain bands that we'll have to watch for possible tornado development on Friday morning. Lots to be tracking. So make sure you have your alerts turned on, everything ready to go, and a good plan for you and your family to get us through the week. Once we get beyond Friday, that's when things should start to improve a little bit. So it's pretty rough until then, but once we get to Saturday, we are expecting dry weather, some sunshine even. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s for that first day of the weekend. A low chance of some scattered showers going into next week, but one thing you might notice is that actually you'll feel a little bit cooler and even a little bit fall-like at times with some of those cooler mornings returning to our area. That's the latest update. Thanks for following us ahead of the storm.